How beautiful is that artwork? So Arnie's artwork is actually in that film and on the Opera House, and she'll speak about it soon. She's just going to have a really quick break, and we're going to make the stage a little bit more accessible as well. So she'll be speaking to you next a little bit about herself and her life and journey, which will be really special. Has anyone seen that before? No? They were speaking in there about ecological indicators at one part. I'm not sure if you heard about the bark having to peel off the tree up in the Daly Riverway in the Northern Territory. So I've got mob connections around lots of different parts of Australia, and what I share with you over the next week isn't a reflection of any mob in particular, but just myself and my lived experience as a First Nations person. So knowledge from the Daly River that we've learnt from ancestors and elders there is that when the bark starts to peel off of the ghost gum trees there, that it means that bull sharks are fat and ready to be hunted in the freshwater systems. So obviously up in the territory, the water changes, the water levels change and rise and drop really dramatically. In the dry season, it's a fantastic time when we follow the life cycle of the wormy, or the, what do you call it in English? The grass with the little bunny tail on the top. Do you know what I'm talking about? Wormy grass. That's the proper name for it anyway. So that's all you need to know. So the wormy grass, we follow that cycle from when it's a root all the way through to when it's burnt off by our mob through cultural practice. And from following these cycles through the different seasonality of the water, we're able to determine what we can hunt and when. So like I said, ghost gums peeling, these trees peeling means that we can hunt for bull shark. When the wormy reaches its first stage of coming into flower and shooting, it means that barramundi and freshwater prawn are through our river systems as well. So really amazing interconnected understanding of the land, and that's ingrained within our people and with our knowledges. So really keen to hear more from Arnie Pat to talk about a bit more of that, but it just another, point of how connected and how together and connected we are with our environment, not separate at all. So I'll pass over to Arnie when she's ready, and I'll come sit next to her. So deadly seeing your artwork up there. Thank you.
Shocked me.
You can go.
Didn't expect it to be here. How I grew up was part in town here, going to school here, but in the bush as well. So, and the land was quite different then. And we used to go over my country, and my dad used to go shooting kangaroos and share it with our families. And my mum and me, we used to go look for bush food. And the bush food is still in my head. And when I go out my country, I still go look for it. But you got this buffalo grass, and they introduced that for the cattle, because where I come from is a cattle station there. And they destroyed a lot of the natural plants and things. And a lot of things were very important food for us. It was more healthy than what you go in the bloody shop in town here. And I still walk around looking for it though. And on that, it's the one with the passion fruit one, with the dots, and that's one of mine. Passion fruit is a rotney, we call in my language. And I often go walking around for that. And we look for languis. Languis is wild bananas, wild bananas and things like that. But that's all gone. And there's very little food, how we grew up with walking around looking for. And the weather, that's changed completely. It used to be very hot, but we were used to hot weather. And then it used to be very cold. and never used to get a lot of water. And how the old people used to survive. They'd go to these, to the creek. They wouldn't worry about what was on top. They'd dig where the water holes used to be and dig a fair bit to survive. And we never took a bottle of water. We used to dig the holes and wait till it cleared, and then we used to drink it. So we did everything in nature way. And that's how my people survived. I was very lucky to grow up with my grandmothers, who was born in the late 1800s. She told me stories about who she was, and my aunties and my dad always said this was our country. This is where his great-great-grandfathers came from. So I knew as a kid who I was and where I came from. And I still go out today, because to me, that's really important. For me, it's a healing way for me to go back home and look at it. Even though I live in a flat in town, and I work for a university. I do Flinders University a while ago, teaching Aboriginal history of Australia and our history of Alice Springs and disasters that happened here to my people. And I've been doing this for a long time. I went to La Trobe University. They had courses in town here, and I did that. But in my head, it's all red dirt where I come from. That's who I am. But I still teach people the proper history of Australia, our history, and how our people survived. And there's many stories around Alice Springs that's connected to me and my family. By old people that was given me the right to talk up, to do welcome. I got every right to be able to do as an elder here today. And in my artwork, I've been painting quite a few years. And the biggest shock of my life was Rhoda Roberts, who works at the Opera House in Sydney. She worked there, and she came here to Alice Springs. And she asked me, she wanted a couple of my paintings. So I said, what? And I got the shock when I went there to see them. I didn't realize it's going to be that big on the Opera House roof. God, shocked me. I still got one of my paintings today at home. I still paint. And I think it's important because that's in my head. That's what I grew up with the story and the connection of my country. And the way you talk about climate change, and I was looking on the East Coast, how the water's everywhere. That happens. People survive, our people survived, for a long time. And we survived. They didn't have houses. They traveled from one area to the other. They didn't worry about that. And the water was their survival too. And when the white man came, they moved them out. And we had a policeman here that shot people, that ate the cattle, that speared the cattle for meat for themselves. And this policeman, his name is Wilshire. They put him here. The cattle station owners did that. And he destroyed my people. He killed thousands of them. But he got taken to South Australia and went to court. But the station owners paid a lot of money for him to get out of it. But he never came back as a policeman. But my people still survive. they became the slave labor of the cattle industry here. And they survived. And they were only given food, not money, until 67, when we became citizens of this country. And it's ridiculous. But the best thing that's happened, I think this Uluru Statement made the big voice. And I hope things happen, change now that we have a right here. Because about 13, 14 years ago, the government intervention of 73 communities were closed down because there was a report done about 2 men, white men, molesting these kids in one community. And they took all the money of 73 communities. John Howard did it and closed down all these people's home. And what it did cause is they had to come in town to get on Centrelink money. They had every right to their land, to their homeland. They went through Land Rights Act to get it back. And they had houses and they had work, and the government had to pay for them to survive, but they didn't. They had to come into Alice Springs, and that's why these children are running amok in Alice Springs. They're causing a lot of problem, but there's a bigger picture why they're doing it. Their parents are devastated. They can't stay on their own homeland. And some Warlpiri people, Yundamu mob, are doing programs especially to help them. So there's a lot of issues that we have to put up with today. And I hope this government changes things. Give us a treaty. We need a treaty for this country, for all of us, all the nations around here. It's so important that start respecting us, who we are. We have survived climate change, everything, and we are still here. And we still know who we are in this country and our people, how they survived in this country. Anyway, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Lots of power from beautiful aunt, and thank you for your Dodiri, your deep listening, and your Raipuri Rom, which is a Yongimaka word for respect. So thank you for listening deeply, and a lot of wisdom, a lot of connection, and a lot of deep pain through the people and the culture of this land. We are so lucky to share space in this room with you and to hear your story. So thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to add before you this morning?
I think Australia has to really look at the history and start moving forward, not going backwards like they have done. And it should be all over Australia. Let's move forward, not backwards. Give us all a chance and our younger generation to survive all this. And we're sick of it. I'm 74 years old and I grew up with a lot of stuff. And this has got to change now. Maybe with this new government, we might get a chance. But thank you. But please join us with the Uluru Statement. It has to be brought out so everybody can realize we need a treaty, all of us. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.